All right, I want to start this video by getting you used to how to do some of these calculations on your calculator. You're still welcome to do them with your Z-chart, but I want to show you the calculator portion and see if you prefer that. So first, make sure you get your calculator, or you've gotten one of mine. And the first thing that we want to do is talk about how to find the area between two z-scores. So that's our first thing, area between two z-scores. All right, so what we're going to do is go on our calculator, and we're going to go to the second vars. So you press your second button and then your vars. When you press second vars, it's going to give you this menu right here, where you have got your NormCDF, your NormCDF, and we will not be using ever this NormPDF, so that we'll never use. But we will be using this NormCDF all the time. And then today we're also going to learn how to use this inverse norm. But first, for the area between two curves, we're going to use this NormCDF. So when you hit this number 2, NormCDF, because what that C stands for is the cumulative, and the D is distribution frequency. So we're getting the cumulative area on this normal distribution, okay? And so we're going to do that. When you hit that button, then that's going to give you one of two menus. If you have Stats Wizard on, if you have a computer that has, or a calculator that has Stats Wizard, then you will get this menu here. And it'll say you need to do a lower bound, an upper bound, and then this stands for the mean, of course, and we want to always keep that at 0 because I always want you to standardize yourself. And this, of course, is your standard deviation, and we're going to always keep that at 1. So always keep that mean and standard deviation at 1 because I want you to always standardize yourself and keep into that habit. So keep at 0 and 1. All right, so your lower and your upper bound are going to be those two things that are your ends of your area. So if you've got a normal curve, you're going to have one z-score, and then you'll have another z-score, and those are your two bounds, your low z to your high z. All right, now, the thing is that sometimes your area that you are getting is going to go on forever below a particular value. And I think that number 1 on your homework last night did that. See, number 1 said, find the proportion of observations that are less than negative 0.66. So essentially what that's doing is that's saying, here's a z-score of 0, that's the mean. Here is a z-score of negative 0.66, and we wanted this area out to negative infinity. So we wanted this whole entire lower section, and that's what you would have drawn on your picture. And then you went to your chart and you just looked up that number on your chart, gave you that value. Well, if we want to use our calculator, then the lower bound, we're going to simulate negative infinity with the number negative 99. I think some people on their calculators do 1 to E99 or to negative 99, or I'm not exactly sure, but some people have that already programmed into their calculator, and that is to simulate that negative infinity. If you do not have that programmed in, then, and you are going below a z-score, then you're going to go from negative 99 up to that upper z-score, which is, in this case on your problem number 1, negative 0.66. So I want you to put that into your calculator. Now, and you'll hit enter and paste until you get your answer. If you do not have a stats wizard, so if you have no stats wizard and your calculator will just come up with this right here where it says NormCDF and it has a parentheses and then it's waiting for your command, then you will type in your negative 99, then the comma, which the comma is located above the number 7. Okay, so right here above the number 7 is your comma. And then you'll come over, so that's your low z-score. Then your high z-score for that problem number 1 on last night's homework was negative 0.66. Close the parentheses and you'll hit enter. And that will give you your answer. So if you'll practice that, then on your last night's homework, that should have given you 0.2546 or 25.46%. Okay, it could also be that it gives you, it may be something a little bit different if it's giving to you from your calculator. It may just be a little bit more accurate, so the 6 might have changed. I'm not sure. All right, so let's see what it's like to find the area greater than a particular number. So number 2 said find the proportion of observations that are greater than negative 1.3. So let's look at this. So on our calculator, we're doing for the area above a z-score. So here's our mean of 0. We're going to go from negative a z-score of negative 1.3 to positive infinity. So remember what you had to do yesterday was you had to find the area below with your chart, and then you had to subtract that from 100. Well, on our calculator, we always have the low z-score and then the high z-score. Well, if we're going out to positive infinity, then we're going to have that high z-score of 99, because that's 99 standard deviations out there. That is so far that it is going to simulate positive infinity for us. And when we go to negative 99, that's simulating negative infinity. So you're going to go into your calculator and you're going to go do that now and practice it and see if you get the same values that you got yesterday. So you're going to, if you have a no stats wizard, you're going to go from negative, what was that, 1.31 or 1.3 up to comma positive 99, and you're going to enter that. If you have Stats Wizard on, then your lower bound is negative 1.3, and your upper bound is simulating positive infinity at positive 99 standard deviations out there. And you're going to keep your mean and standard deviation at 0 and 1 and go out there and you paste. And you get your answers. And for that answer, you should have gotten something like 0.903. All right, the last one I want to teach you how to do on your calculator is between two z-scores. So yesterday you had to find both of those areas and subtract one from the other. But you're going to love this on the calculator. So on that problem, we had from a z-score, here was your mean of 0, and we were going from a z-score of 1.2 up to a z-score of 2.5, and we were finding that area in between those. And so your low z is 1.2. So here's you're going to do your NormCDF of your low z up to your NormCDF of your high z. And then that's going to give you that area in between those two z-scores. So on your calculators, it will look like this. If you have no Stats Wizard, then you're going to be going from your numbers here are going to be, let's see here. Then your numbers here are going to be NormCDF from the 1.5 or 1.2 up to the 2.5, and then over here on the lower one, you're going to be going, the lower score will be the 1.2 up to the 2.5, and it will calculate that area for you. And so then when you get your answer, you come up with 10.89% or 0.1089. All right, so that is how you do NormCDF in your calculator. It's NormCDF from low Z to high Z. And so I have a little video to show you that. And so let's see if we can't play that song for you to remind you that for NormCDF, it's from low Z up to high Z. So let's see here. All right, here we go.
Normal curve, the normal curve, the probability of finding X, norm CDF, low Z to high Z. The normal curve, the normal curve, the probability of finding X, norm CDF, low Z to high Z.
All right, so hopefully you guys will be able to remember low Z to high Z. All right, so now what I want to do is teach you about inverse norm. Inverse norm is going to get you, the inverse norm will get you the Z-score, okay? Inverse norm of the area below is the Z at that spot. And so we're going to try and do that. Let me see if I can't get some of this writing and such removed, okay? So those, you will also get to that in the same way on your calculator as you did before, where you went second vars. So second vars. But this time what you're looking for is inverse norm. So we're going to go inverse norm right here, that number 3. Okay, so when we do that, then we've got two different screens that will show up. And so we'll either have the one that has the stats wizard or the one that does not have the stats wizard. So if we have the stats wizard, then we will get this menu right here. And again, leave the mean at 0 and the standard deviation at 1. So what we fill in right here is the area below, and that is the key. So we're going to do inverse norm of the area below, inverse norm of the area below, inverse norm of the area below is the Z at that spot. So what this is going to give us is a Z-score. If we have no stat wizard, then when we put inverse norm, our calculator just gives us this little picture right here. And so what we want to type in for this area, just like what we want to type in down here as that area, is we want to type in our area below. And in both of these cases, we are typing in that area below as a decimal. So if we want the lowest 10%, then we will type in, if we want the lowest Z-score at the lowest 10%, then our area below would be 0.10. If we want the highest 10%, then what is the area below? The area below the highest 10% would be 0.9. So in decimal form, put that in there, and then you close your parentheses and you hit enter, and it gives you a z-score. Gives a z-score. So on our little song that we would do, x minus the mean over the standard deviation, x minus the mean over the standard deviation. Then then what we would get for the second part of that, which I said we would use then this week, what we get for the next part of that is that inverse norm of the area below. So let's try that and see how that goes.
X minus the mean over the standard deviation. X minus the mean over the standard deviation. Inverse norm of the area below. Inverse norm of the area below. Inverse norm of the area below is the z at that spot. X minus the mean over the standard deviation. X minus the mean over the standard deviation. Inverse norm of the area below. Inverse norm of the area below. Inverse norm of the area below is the z at that spot.
All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at a couple of your problems from last night's homework, okay, and see if we can't do that with our calculator and see what we come up with. So let's do let's look at numbers 9, 10, and 11. So here on this numbers 9, 10, and 11, number 9 says, find the z-score that separates the top 40% from the bottom 60%. So, of course, when you were looking at your picture, it was somewhere in this vicinity because this area here was 0.6. So your area below is 0.6. So then, if you went into your calculator and you typed in inverse norm of 0.6, then that would give you the z-score at that spot, okay, which was 0.25. All right, number 10, the z-score that separates the top 82% from the bottom 18%. So you would have a picture here. You'd have your bottom 18% of data. And this z-score, you would put in inverse norm of the 0.18 is the z at that spot. And that should come up as negative 0.191 or 92. I'm not sure which one it rounds to. And then number 11, find the z-score of the third quartile. So that Q3 separates the top 25% from the bottom 75%. So which number do we put into inverse norm? This bottom 75%. So we're going to do inverse norm of the 0.75 in our calculator, and that will give us the z-score at that spot. All right, so now that I have taught you how to use the calculator, we're going to go on and do the next set of notes. And now you have the freedom to use the calculator or to use your Z-chart.